Without further ado, we're going to jump into our next panel, challenges with adopting construction technology, all the things that, some of the things we were talking about earlier, some new stuff. I'll pass it to Chris from ICBA, who's going to be moderating the panel. We'll go from there. Right? You bring it up here, and I'll put this mic for them on up. Chris from ICBA.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here. I'm going to ask the other panelists to join me up on the stage now while I give you introductory remarks. My name is Chris Gardner, president of ICBA. Come on up. ICBA is the largest construction association in the country. Over 4,500 members and clients. We're in our 49th year. We're a big training platform. We have a big mental health program. Over 10,000 people enrolled. And we do a lot of public policy research, and we have health and dental plans. Nearly 200,000 people on one of our plans. When I talk about construction, what I talk about is the opportunity that construction presents. It's about 10% of our economy, and it's the unsung hero of our economy. We don't talk about the jobs and opportunity in construction enough, and in the way we should be. It is an entrepreneurial story. If you think of all the contractors that you know, they're individuals, families who took risk, and are entrepreneurs building business. Some of those businesses remain small business, 20, 30 employees, some grow to mid-scale, and some become some of the largest companies in North America. But it's also a technology story, and we don't tell that story enough. For young kids in high school who are interested in technology, counselors should be saying, learn a skill, learn a trade. There's opportunities for technology in construction. It's redefining the way that we design and build buildings. It's a tremendous opportunity. But we don't say that. I guarantee you, if a young person in high school says, I want to go into business, they're going to say, go to UBC or UVic or SFU and take finance and go off into the world. If they talk about technology, they're going to say, go get involved in computer engineering and join Google or Amazon or something else. They're not going to talk about construction, and we should. This is a great opportunity. So that's what today's panel is really all about, talking about the challenges, the opportunities, the discussions that are shaping technology and construction. So I'm going to start with getting the panelists to introduce each other. First, I'm going to start with Tomislav. And the one thing I did is I did some research on what Clayco does. And Tomislav, what was interesting is on the website, through the website, it says, powerful buildings with impacts beyond these walls, and we focus on the art and science of construction. So how does that define, first of all, what you do in the company and then what the company does?
Thank you for the intro and setting you up with a really, really good and difficult question. So let me just give you a little intro on myself. As I established earlier this morning in a really casual conversation, I'm a reformed architect and reformed engineer that almost 20 years ago saw the light at the end of the tunnel and moved into the world of design build. And why did I do this? And this is really getting to your question. My entire life I was hovering between what I was doing in technology. And prior to joining Clayco, I was a consultant, technology consultant in the design and construction space. And the synergy of data and processes called BIM that emerged 20 years ago kind of made sense. And then one day, this company that was back then, 17 years ago, relatively small, approached me and they were like, we are design builders in our core. And I was like, wow, that's a great opportunity. Because if you can see and connect the dots, as guys within Clayco want to say, do the process from soup to nuts, but if you can connect the dots from beginning to the end and apply underlying technology to them, this is the place where I want to be. And for Clayco, that science part is really how do we harness the power of technology, and the art part is how do we adjust either technology to our processes or our processes to technology. So that's where we are. Right now, I work as a CTO at Clayco, and that probably means Chief Troublemaking Officer. I don't get any ideas.
Thank you. Ritu from Kinetic, on the website, it talks about how providing value to clients means more than just saving money. That's interesting. I I know a lot of guys are really focused on the bottom line. What does that mean for you and what you do at Kinetic?
So at Kinetic, I work as a lead integration leader, and I am overseeing lead initiatives, including BIM and VDC, the organization. We are a GC organization based out of Victoria as our head office, 3 branches, 1 in Courtney, and I work out of the Richmond office, serving the entire mainland. So to your question about value and what's the definition of value, how many people in this room have heard about lean construction? Great, absolutely brilliant. So for us, it starts with the mindset. And again, value is defined by the owner and by the person next in the food chain. So it could be your end user, it could be anybody whom you are handing over an information. So value is not just the final product, but it's based on intervals, what are you providing to the next person. So at Kinetic, embracing the lean principles, lean mindset, we're always looking at understanding what is the true definition of value and how we can optimize it by implementing some of the lean principles. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alexis, Suffolk, if you go to the Suffolk website, you're going to see references to construction being a sector that's ripe for disruption. And their CEO a few weeks ago said we are building an army of construction robots. So I was like, wow, this is quite a thing that's happening over there in Boston. I know you're from Florida, but how does that sort of define what you do at Suffolk?
Sure. So Alexis McGuffin, National Director of Digital Delivery at Suffolk, and I'm going to skip over the robot piece and kind of go actually to the core, which is the platform, because it really starts at the platform. So we've been working on our data lake for over 10 years, and really about building this platform that can service projects at the exact right moment with the exact right information. Robots are a piece of that, right? But it's, but for us, it's more about just arming our projects and our teams with exactly what they need, sort of a mission control style platform with data, predictive analytics, everything that they need to build their project perfectly. And we can de-risk it, right, and just deliver predictability for our clients.
And Adil from Procore, connecting everyone and everything on one platform.
Absolutely, my name is Adil, solutions engineer here at Procore. I don't have quite as impressive a resume as the rest of these folks, so I'll keep it short, but essentially here to speak about the challenges of technology. I mean, as a provider, Procore's essential mission is, like Chris has said, to connect all of us together and make it as simple as possible for everybody in construction to collaborate with as many people as possible across the board.
Okay, thanks. If you're reading on construction and productivity and construction and technology, what you're generally going to find is that construction is the worst sector of the economy, and it's a terrible thing, and it's not innovative. And so, as president of ICBA, I speak a lot about how the it's not as bad in construction as people might think. Construction's better than a lot of other sectors of our time. There's definitely work to do. But $5 billion a year is being invested in software applications directly related to construction. And contractors are innovative. Any construction job site, and what you see, because of how buildings are being designed and integration, is really quite exciting. But that being said, for everyone on the stage here in the panel, what is driving the conversations about technology in construction that you see when you talk to other clients or partners or other providers? What are the key themes that you're hearing that are driving this adoption of technology? And what are some of the challenges towards adopting that in the scale and the speed that they should be? So, Thomas.
I promised earlier to be nice regarding the comment about productivity, and I'll skip it for now. A couple of statements that you made that I think that they are definitely worth discussing. What is driving our desire to implement, deploy, adopt, understand technology? Well, obviously, in our core, we're all builders. We want to see artifacts of our endeavor being materialized, and we all want to live in great cities, operate in great manufacturing facilities, hospitals, schools, whatnot, places of living and learning. But I think it's safe to say, and it's not a cop-out, that what's driving our desire to bring technology closer to construction is really improving our bottom line. I don't think it's a secret that we are a low-margin industry. You know, we can toss the numbers at each other, but they usually hover between 2 and 10%, which is not spectacular. Kudos to those that are reaching 10%. So we see technology as panacea to our problems of productivity, bad habits, but I don't think technology in itself is a vehicle that will get us to the point where we can reclaim both importance of construction in society, but also improve the process line. I think, the bottom line, I think the key is for us to also retool our processes and our thinking about what technology brings. One of the most frequent grievances I get from people that I work with, and it's almost 3,000 of them, is there's too much tech being tossed our way. You know, what I'm seeing here today, and I'm not trying to be nice to cmBuilder, is understanding how simplification can actually help us adopt technology faster with a greater purpose. And I think once when we get over that finish line, then we can start talking about.
Sorry, can you turn that off? Sorry, what is it?
Is it mine or?
No, I probably just.
I broke it.
No. Just help it on.
You know, I can yell.
I mean, if you just turn it on and off, maybe. I don't know if it's too close up.
Hello?
So, once when we, in my view, again, feel free to disagree, once when we understand that we reach the point where technology is not seen as an impediment to meaningful adoption, then we can start talking about increasing productivity, increasing efficiency, increasing the bottom line, and ultimately quality and safety. That's a topic for, that's a topic for a completely different discussion. But that's what I think.
I echo everything that Tomislav has mentioned, but I think at Kinetic, when we introduce technology, our motive and focus is to improve the lives of our people. That takes us a step ahead into improving the industry as a whole. And so when we introduce technology, the driving force behind that is to understand where are the pain points and only introduce a new tech or a process if something is broken. If nothing is broken, why do you fix it? And then if you have to fix it, identify the steps in the process, and if those steps can be improved with the help of a new technology, that's how we strategically align our initiatives and strategically bring and roll out the technology at Kinetic. What was the other question that you had? Was what is the driving and then the challenges?
Yeah.
I think that one of the major challenges we've seen is, again, going back to the mindset of change is hard and technology fatigue is everywhere. How do you make that change possible in the simplistic fashion? cmBuilder being one of the examples of a simple, user-friendly tool which helps us to resolve or provide some of the solutions. And so it starts with the mindset change, and then along with the people. People are the driving force behind the change, so making people part of the change is where the success is. Thank you.
So despite what some say, we are not in a great economy in the United States. And when we're in a tough economy, there's usually a flight to quality. And so what clients are looking for is reduced risk and predictability. So for us, a driver towards more technology is that need for predictability, the need for efficiency, The challenge, I typically sit a little bit upstream, kind of in the client interfacing piece, the sales piece, and the startup of the project. And so often the barrier is cost, and it's not just because Procore is so expensive. I'm just kidding. We have Procore. We love you guys. Where's the Autodesk one? Okay. But it's because I have to go talk to a client and say, we want to use all this tech on the job. It's going to reap huge benefits, right? It's going to give you predictability. The project team is going to be supported in the right way. And then they say, okay, great. Are your general conditions going to be lower? No. Is your contingency going to be lower? No. Are you going to guarantee me anything? No. But will you pay for this? Right? So it's a really hard conversation with clients to pay for all this stack upon stack upon stack technology, right? But also say, we're not reducing the number of people on the job, right? We're not doing all this stuff. It's really just kind of now table stakes and making us capable to getting close to achieving the budget and the schedule goals. So, you know, I'm interested and hopeful that eventually this kind of flips and we're able to kind of, you know, put something, you know, make some bets against it and actually get some of the efficiency that we've been promised. Now, maybe that won't happen because that never happened with BIM, right? It's almost like the letter to the email. Email didn't actually make communication reduce it. It's just now we have the capacity to do more. And I think the same thing happened with BIM. The projects got more complex and faster. So we didn't actually get to go home at 4 p.m., right? We actually all have to stay later after that. So I don't know, we'll see, but I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I think I'd echo all the points made here in terms of like the challenges that are being faced. I mean, I can speak to it a little bit. I did work in construction for about 10 years prior to joining Procore. I did try to get some technology implemented in previous companies that I worked in, and it was always the same, right? It was a lot of lack of, lack of change. You know, people did not want to change. You have a lot of inertia in existing processes where, you know, I've been doing this for 30 years. How many times have you heard that? I've been doing this for 30 years. I do not want to change. That sort of felt even internally when I was trying to get technology into, you know, as being a project manager, that was something I kept feeling. And even when on the flip side, being a technology, you know, as a seller of Procore, that is something we still hear a lot, that, you know, you don't want people to adopt. It's going to be really hard to find the time to do it. There's like echoed in the previous panel as well, right? It's going to be really hard to find the bandwidth, to find the time to get it all in. And it just comes down to what, was just said over here in terms of getting, you need to sort of like up the table stakes and really not think of technology as something we need to do, but that's going to be the baseline for any kind of improvements. And you can start lifting up from there, right? Like if you look at 10 years ago on a job site, people with laptops, maybe 15, 20 years ago, people with laptops were like considered high tech. And now that's like baseline. You know, if you don't have an iPad or if you don't have BIM, you're not really considered a high tech individual. And that's sort of like what we're trying to raise. We're trying to get that level up. And of course, you know, as a provider of technology, we need to make it easier to adopt. We need to make it, you know, get a lot of people into it, make it really easy to adopt, and of course, increase collaboration, which is, you know, stuff like this conference is really helping us to do.
Okay, great. So if you think of the construction sector in Canada, about 1.6 million people woke up today, went to a job site. 80% of them work for companies that are 25 employees or less. So it's a small, medium-sized business sector of our economy. So my first question to the panel, is this really a big contractor story? The second thing to consider is if you think about, for those of you who are from British Columbia, every single major infrastructure project in this province is behind schedule and over budget. Not by millions, by hundreds of millions, and in some cases billions of dollars. So Alexis, you talked about the promise of efficiency and we're going to do things better, we're going to do it on time. We seem to be a long way off, and Tom Slough, you started by saying there's so much technology out there, so many choices. How do contractors make those choices? And is it really just a big contractor story? And are we a long way away from efficiency, predictability, scalability, reliability, everything that we want as either end users, buyers, purchasers, taxpayers, or owners?
You gave me a great idea. Actually, we should open an office here if you want to take time. That's fine. We'll go ski. Yes, we will. Technology is expensive. And I don't think this should be Actually, I think it's too expensive. And this shouldn't be only a big contractor story. And also, we shouldn't float the cost of technology and expenses associated with it to our clients. I think cost of technology should be our cost of doing business. If we really want to claim that we want to compete with manufacturing, because I really would hate to walk in a, I don't know, Audi dealership and have to choose between Audi that passed quality control and the one that maybe didn't. That's what we are trying to do. We are trying to say, well, if you don't use technology, you might not get a quality. I'm like, what do you mean? So I think we need to retune our fee structure, our contractual agreements. We need to be more integrated in order to flow down technology to mid-size firms and make it more affordable. I also have to say the software industry is taking us to cleaners all the time. And I'll because if I'm paying for a software and then all of a sudden I'm seeing 3 or 4 CSMs and I don't know, TPMs and I don't know what are the acronyms, sitting on a call, these people are being paid, but if none of them says a word, I'm paying for something that has no value to me. So I think we really need to take that idea of technology being this like magical bullet, bring down the cost. We as industry need to invest more, not in educating specialized things like VDC and BIM teams. We need to really completely change the structure of our education in terms of educating our management, engineers to adopt technology early on, democratize technology, and then start seeing movement where you won't be stressing or sweating if you're a $200 million a year company or a $10 billion a year company. Obviously, the scale impacts ability to innovate, implement, and absorb some technology. There go robots all day long. You're not going to do it if you're a $200 million company. But that shouldn't be the differentiator when it comes to adoption. And I think we as an industry should be a little bit more organized in voicing our opinion and demanding what's rightfully ours. Because there's no chance. It makes no sense that we make 3% when software companies making 25% of the company. So guys, think about it. That's
Don't come to the Vancouver market.
No.
You're gonna-
It's nice here though.
Yeah, it's nice. Don't come as a competitor. I think that technology has to become an integral part of the way we plan, design, execute. It has to become an integral part. I had asked a question, how many of you know lean design and construction, and many hands were raised. What is waste? If I have to ask you, what is waste? Waste is one of the principles of lean. So waste is anything which is not adding value to your process. And then there's necessary waste. Technology is actually that necessary waste. So there is a lot of effort going into educating and training and procuring a software and buying a software and going and looking at what a process is doing and what are the steps that are not working in the process. But it's all part of a necessary waste. And if we understand that in order to innovate and in order to make a process better, we can never get rid of the necessary waste. I think that's where IT is. IT has acknowledged and understood that there is necessary waste, and necessary waste is important to make the process better. I think that's where we have to break that mindset. We can only improve by understanding what is adding value and what's not adding value. And once again, a kinetic, you can introduce technology to the project teams. You can bring the change from bottom up, but how do you sustain that change if you don't have the top management support? And so the corporate strategy, how you execute your corporate strategy, what becomes part of your corporate strategy, really helps us to bring technology as a part of a corporation and hence into an industry. The other aspect I would like to emphasize is also around the type of contract delivery models that we have. The more collaborative a project delivery, it just helps us to bring technology with a project-first thinking mindset, which is not about your profit and my profit, but it's about the reward and risk. And going back to the design build, as you mentioned, or talking about the IPD, these are just some of the great, I don't know if it's innovations or good project delivery methods or practices that have come into our industry, which are making it easier to adopt technology and bring all the people, all the stakeholders and partners to a place where they can acknowledge that technology is an integral part of the way we design, build, execute, and hand over.
I won't add much to this. I mean, I think it's a big contractor game, but I don't have any perspective on the smaller contracting side. I will say I think it's a data game, so whoever has the data and knows how to leverage it will win. I think there'll probably be a bifurcation in the industry between the big players who have, right, the historical, robust, clean data lake they can leverage for predictive analytics, and those are the contractors who will be able to tell their clients, you know, in a moment's notice, we know that this will happen and here's what needs to happen next. I can tell you exactly, right, your decision-making tree, these are your options, help reduce the complexity of the decision-making process, quick access to historical data. Right, clients want options, right? The clients that we work with, they don't want to be forced into repeated design. They don't really like they think they like the idea of modular, but they really don't, right? They want bespoke design. They want to make the decisions at the last responsible moment. They want to feel like they're in control. They want options, but they want us to tell them, here's the risk at every stage of the game. And so I think that the contractors who can rise to that challenge and who can accomplish that will be kind of on one side, and the ones who don't have that capability and the data to leverage, I think, I'm not really sure, right, what happens there. So.
Yeah, I mean, I actually sell to a lot of sort of small and medium-sized businesses, so I speak to them on a daily basis, and I get to hear a lot of their opinions and how, like you said, Thomas, the cost of technology is pretty high, and definitely a valid concern. Some providers have to. I mean, I'm not about this all way above my sort of level here, so this is not being quoted by Procore or anything. This is not Procore official speak. That's just my opinion.
Turn the camera.
Yeah, turn it on. But yeah, it is definitely, like you said, it's a cost of doing business, and it's one of those things where you choose to do it or you not. Other way, you have to do it to basically move ahead and be competitive, because we are in this landscape in a business sense that if you do not choose to use technology and do not sort of try to get more efficient and try to do things a bit faster and a bit more efficiently, you will sort of not just lose on projects, but also lose on talent. Because I feel like, again, this is something maybe I can speak to a bit. When I was looking at new jobs, whenever I look, this is back when I was in the construction field, trying to be a project manager, my first question to companies was, are you leveraging a project management solution? Like, they told me that no, we're still using Excel, we're still using the old school things, we're using paper. I'm like, you know what, that's going to add 10 extra hours a week to my workload. I don't want to do it. And I get it, this is going to be especially more challenging for small and medium-sized businesses, because, yeah, it is something that they have to add on as overhead, and they typically don't get paid. Clients can recognize the value of these implements typically, so it does get a bit challenging to pass that along to clients. But this is sort of like the nature of the business right now, I feel, and again, it might change. And I feel like with more competition coming up, more construction businesses like cmBuilder coming out there, we are getting a lot more, I guess, players in the space that should hopefully, ideally, drive costs down and make it a lot more easier for anybody to jump in and leverage these tools to get more efficient in the future.
One of the big challenges, every year we survey our 4,000 plus members and clients, and for the last nearly 10 years, we ask them this question. The question is, what is the biggest challenge facing your business? And really for the last decade, it's been one simple thing: people, shortage of people in the workforce. And if you think about just the context of what's happening in British Columbia, last year, for the last 2 years in this province, never happened before, there were more natural deaths than births. So we're going over a demographic cliff on the wrong side of that. And we have about 20% of the construction workforce in this country that is 55 or older. And the average retirement age for construction is 60. Most people don't get to 65. Even in the broader economy, it's about 62. Lots of things happen. So my question as it relates to technology is technology a way to get through the shortage of people? Is it going to help solve the challenge that we have? We're about to lose a lot of leadership, experience, expertise. It's going to rapidly leave the workforce. Young people tend to be more technology savvy than older folks like myself. So is technology a way to get through that? Or are we still thinking about technology in the wrong way? It's just going to solve all these problems magically. If we adopt one of these systems, it's going to be cheaper, we're going to be more efficient, and everyone's going to think that the project's delivered in a much better way. Thumbs up?
It's a tough one. Let me start with saying that what Alexis just mentioned, unless we enable well-organized, cleaned, easily accessible and tuned data to become more predictive and prescriptive, we won't be able to augment lack of workforce through technology. So data is absolute bloodline of making that transformation. The second part is we've been delivering projects for over a century in a very same way. Similar organizational structure, especially on the CM side. I think that in itself is well overdue for a complete revamp. How many VDC people are in the room? All right. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I would say, in my view, I don't think VDC will exist 10 years from now. Woo. Sorry, guys. Not because I don't want you to stay busy. I want you to transgress in something that is more applicable to this industry, like let's say the idea of process engineer that understands through technology how the process of building and designing is being executed from start to finish. So you're not pigeonholed in a BDC and tech. Those tech people in the corner, they'll figure it out, they'll use cmBuilder. No, you become essential part of the process. Thus, you are actually empowering efficiency of labor throughout the entire process. So you take a role of project manager, project engineer, project executive that is technologically enabled, that will possibly circumvent that age gap that we have. And then that's on industry. I think we also need to invest more robustly in educating our workforce entirely. I mean, I see what's happening. We are so busy that we hire a person and within 3 days, off you go on the job site, rubber hits the road, I'm sure you can deliver it. And then last minute we are scrambling to fill in the schedule gap and get it done right. I mean, sorry, we don't do it this way, I'm sure you guys do. So I think it's a combination of everything, but I want to go back to saying, unless we all get together, start speaking the common language of standardizing across the board the way we exchange information, the way we define our processes, and optimize to that way, and then transform the workforce, maybe we can circumvent the problem of labor. That's, again, my humble 2 cents.
I think technology is not a magic wand. It's not going to change everything, but if it again, once again becomes a part of the way we execute, design, build, transfer, hand over our projects, it's going to help. During the superintendent panel, there was a very good conversation around A lot of people retiring and new folks coming and superintendents, and how do we actually ensure that the knowledge is not lost and the knowledge gap is not so big enough. And so I think one of the solutions proposed was we need to have those mentoring system. We need to have a person who's retiring with wealth of knowledge needs to integrate with the new tech-oriented project teams, and both have to work hand in hand so that there is a win-win situation. Once again, the technology is not something which is a choice. It needs to be integrated within the process, and hence going back and understanding what's broken in the process and why are you introducing a new technology is important. I think those are the two important takeaways. One is technology needs to become part of the system, and then people who are retiring, the company needs to understand that there is a wealth of knowledge, and then there are new generation superintendents or project managers or project coordinators who are more tech savvy and who are more inclined to introducing and adapting and embracing technology to have to meet and leverage experience with the technology together for the project.
Chris, this is when we talk about robots. But yes, I mean, supply chain and labor are some of our biggest concerns right now, biggest issues. So yes, I think supplementing on-site labor with robotics, the data piece I talked about. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but when I started in the industry, I had an old, superintendent who knew everything, right? Didn't use technology, and he was over my shoulder just teaching me everything, and it was a wonderful experience. I kind of feel sad for the next generation growing up, and they won't have those builders who have been building with their hands for 60 years to train them. They're going to have to go back to our SOPs and our lessons learned and our database and our digitized training and everything. And we will need that, but it is kind of sad to me that they won't have kind of those guys who can just build anything, anywhere, and just kind of know. And also, I don't know about you guys, but the things that I learned, the biggest kind of learning impacts I had in my career was when something went wrong. I will never forget my first laser scanning experience because it didn't go well. And after that, I never got that wrong again. And if somebody had just told me right off the bat exactly what to do perfectly, and I had just done it perfectly with no issue, I wouldn't have that kind of really deep, visceral experience to train members on my team. So I also feel for them if they're just kind of reading the exact manual and not having kind of the sage to go along with them to kind of hold their hand and teach them the process and really learn it internally. So, but yeah, I mean, I think it'll be, I guess, trying to answer your question, a combination of the tech, the data, the robotics, the AI component, certainly in there. And I don't think it's really going to get us ahead. I think it's just going to be a need to have.
Yeah, I think spot on. This was sort of mentioned with the superintendent 2.0 panel as well. We need to kind of combine forces, work together, older generation, newer generation work together and get it all done at the same time. So you have people, the younger, generation teaching, the outgoing folks, how to use technology at the same time. That knowledge transfer is happening in the reverse direction as well. But it's coming in from the guys that have been experienced, like you said, 6 years in the field. Just put them out there. Who's going to build a building? Doesn't need any plans. Just knows what to do. They're definitely going to be missing a lot of that. We're going to need a lot more reliance on SOPs, a lot more reliance on drawings, PDC, whatever you want to call it. And that's going to be lost forever, really. But you need to now, this is sort of the critical time to transfer that knowledge over. And that's where, it's more, I also have a follow-up question really for Thomas. You did mention a lot of this is happening, right? You need to record all this data, you need to organize it, you need to formulate it and make sure that it is properly distributed to the next generation. I'm just curious, what your thoughts are, because you did mention that EDC is going to be 10 years is going to be gone, and it's going to be more of a process-based approach. Who do you think is going to be taking on that process? Is it going to be each company internally, or is it going to be an external vendor?
No. I started in a completely different industry, in a shipyard, 30 some years ago. So I'm dating myself, so I'm like 42 last month. Third world country, not a single piece of paper to deliver entire vessel, everything 3D, sent straight to pantographs, bent, installed in sections, delivered, crane, and that damn thing was floating and moving around. I didn't see many buildings floating and moving around. They didn't have a single person called a BIM engineer. It was an engineer, a manager. So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying the skill is going to go away, but the industry needs to transform our labor, our workforce, in people that have the power to treat digital tools like cmBuilder or Procore or Autodesk, whatever, as a new pencil. That's what I'm saying. And I think once when we cross the threshold, when what we do is just a pencil, and who cares what software is, what technology, it's just a way of doing business. That's what I was meaning. 100%.
So we've come to the end of the panel. We've got time for a question or two. So if there's anyone who has a question for the panel or someone on that, yes.
A couple panelists said data. Alexis, you said it's blood. In the struggles I find, it's the models, that's the start of the project, it's the birth of the project, that's where the data is there. Do you see governance going around on standardizing it so that no matter what model I get, it's the same? Say it was a PDF, a stamped PDF, it had to have a stamp, it had to have PN, it had to have a date, it had to have a title. Are models going to get standardized in the data so that your platforms can work?
No.
Do you want to get it first?
Sure.
I'm not sure about it.
No.
And then who does? How do you get clients then to build models so data is there?
You don't, and you won't. I don't think you will, at least not in the United States. So you have a team of data engineers, right? So we can do as best as we can to try to put out standards and have people follow them. But for design, bid, build, I don't have any control over the design team and their models. The way that we handle that today at Suffolk is we rebuild a construction model. We do a true virtual design or virtual construction process, so it's not federating models, it's not coordinating, it's building in a virtual environment in the same sequence that you would build in the field. So we have control over all of that geometry and metadata. But that's not a cheap process. It's not, you know what I mean? Took a lot of company, right, kind of initiative and change to do that. But the other side is we also have a 30-person data team, right? So they can take that data, and then I am not a data person, right? I'm an evangelist, but I'm not an expert. But to be able to, import that data, clean that data, assimilate it, and make sure that we can leverage it and use it, because we do have like a BIM repository that kind of feeds back into our design process and through to construction. But I don't really think that you can go upstream. We've tried, right? We've tried to educate clients and talk to clients and have them put it in the design contracts, and still today, they don't know what they're buying. They go, wait a minute, why am I paying you? I thought I bought BIM. I thought I bought BIM for my architect, my engineer. They have no idea. It's like, it's a black box to them. They don't know what they bought. They never look at the models, most, right? You have some of course, you've got some sophisticated clients who hired a third-party consulting firm to write their BIM standards, and then they got the sticker price, and they had have to pay this much for this. So I just don't think that going upstream and trying to get others to behave in a way that benefits us instead of what benefits them in the moment is the right move. I think we have to kind of find our own way, and that's really kind of a typical GC construction manager methodology. We've always just kind of had to figure it out ourselves, right? Yeah. So I don't have a better answer for you. That's the honest answer I have.
All right, Alexis and I agree on many things. I'm going to disagree on this one. Twofold answer. Contractual agreement. I'm a firm believer in design build. Control your own destiny, control the product destiny. Control that information flow, you can get one step closer to having the data, but handover doesn't result in information loss and this moment like, God, I need to rebuild it. Second, and it was an eye-opener for the last 3 years, we've been collaborating with companies that are a little bit further away, let's say across the pond. And I'm not trying to make a spiel for building smart alliance, standardization, but unless we pull our heads out of some place and start thinking standardization, we will not get there. So I would warmly encourage everybody to get on the same page where the industry should be heading. Standardized data, standardized processes. Yes, data teams should be involved because there's always somebody who needs to do the oversight, I agree. But I think we can be doing so much better than what we are doing now. So if you can do IPD with agreement or design build or design assist, whichever one works better, and you agree early on in engagement, like we as CMs, when we get in the CM role, we should actually start talking to design teams as soon as they start creating the design. We would be in a better place. It can be done. 2 months ago, I've seen amazing jobs where everybody is on the same page and information flows like you guys wouldn't believe. But it's not happening here because we are way too independent in our thinking.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, at the back.
So everybody's speaking about adoption. I don't think anybody's saying it blatantly. The biggest problem is whether you're Autodesk, Bentley, Cintu, or Vista, everybody's on their ecosystem that's proprietary. I go back to when I started with the CoLPad and Autodesk R12. It was an EWG for everybody, every software, every platform. You didn't have to piece apart a model to reassemble it. So let's just blatantly say, each manufacturer of software out there is making their own ecosystem and pigeonholing you into an ecosystem where we cannot share between Vectorworks, ArchiCAD, BricsCAD, Autodesk, without ripping apart a model that was given to us. The proprietary formats are killing the industry.
That's what I just said. Let's get standardization of the formats and enable information flow.
But it's the proprietary formats, the software producers with their proprietary ecosystems, they're destroying us. They're forcing us to buy 5 different softwares.
That was a question.
Okay, well, thank you very much to our panelists for the thank you to the CMBuilder.